The battle for Kepler Station was a nightmare of fire and chaos. Minho's strike group appeared inside the station's defensive shields, materializing in the middle of the enemy formation. The Velcrin and Council forces had been preparing ships for invasion, docked neatly in rows. Now they scrambled to respond as human vessels appeared among them, already firing. All ships target the docked vessels first, Minho commanded. They cannot maneuver while connected to the station. The Defiant shook as it unleashed a full weapons barrage at point-blank range. Enemy ships exploded before they could even activate their shields. But the human advantage lasted only minutes. The Council forces recovered from their shock and began to coordinate their defense. Energy beams and missiles filled the space between ships. Shields at 20%, called out the defense officer. Hull breaches on decks 4 and 5. Hana was working through tactical calculations faster than most computers. Jump pattern Alpha 7, execute in 3 seconds, mark! The Defiant vanished and reappeared 300 meters away, behind a cluster of enemy frigates. The human tactic of micro-jumping was designed for exactly this situation. The enemy expected ships to maneuver slowly using thrusters. Human ships could literally teleport around the battlefield, but not without cost. The forces involved in micro-jumping were tremendous. Crews felt like they were being crushed and stretched at the same time. Several human ships made jump calculations wrong by tiny fractions and materialized inside station structures, exploding instantly. "We are taking heavy losses," Hana reported. 8 ships destroyed, 4 more critically damaged. "Hold the line," Minho ordered. "Reinforcements are coming." Across the galaxy, 19 other battles raged. At each Council staging area, human strike groups were engaging enemy fleets in desperate combat. The element of surprise gave the humans an initial advantage, but the Council forces outnumbered them everywhere. It became a question of who would break first. That was when Sora's final innovation changed everything. From repair ships positioned at the edge of each battlefield, thousands of small drones launched into space. They looked like silver insects, each no bigger than a fighter craft. The Council forces ignored them, focusing on the warships. That was a mistake. The repair drones swarmed toward damaged human vessels. Instead of retreating to repair facilities light years away, the human ships could be fixed right there on the battlefield. But these were not ordinary repair drones. Sora had programmed them with something revolutionary. They could replicate themselves using materials from destroyed ships and space debris. A human cruiser with its engines blown out suddenly found itself surrounded by hundreds of drones. They cut away damaged sections, fabricated new parts from scrapped metal, and welded them into place. Within 30 minutes, the cruiser was back in the fight. The drones then split, half staying with the repaired ship and half moving to find other damaged vessels. The Council commanders watched in disbelief as human ships they had destroyed limped back into combat, repaired and rearmed. Meanwhile, their own damaged vessels had to retreat to distant shipyards. The humans could sustain combat indefinitely. The Council forces could not. At the Kepler Station battle, Minho saw the strategic situation shift. "All ships, aggressive assault pattern. The drones will keep us operational. Press the attack." The human fleet, which had been fighting defensively, suddenly pushed forward. Ships that should have retreated to lick their wounds instead surged into the enemy formation with weapons blazing. The psychological effect on the Council forces was devastating. How do you fight an enemy that will not stay dead? But the cost was high. Taeyang's ship, the Shadow's Edge, had been given a mission more dangerous than reconnaissance. He was to capture the Council's military command station in the Dracon system. The station coordinated all coalition fleet movements, and taking it would cripple their ability to wage organized war. Taeyang led a strike team of just 5 ships against a station defended by 60 vessels. The mission was supposed to be impossible. It probably was impossible, but humans had a habit of doing the impossible anyway. "We go in fast," Taeyang told his team. "Micro-jump past the defensive line, hit the station with boarding pods, and take the command center before they realize what is happening." The Shadow's Edge and its escort ships jumped directly toward the command station. Defense platforms opened fire immediately. Taeyang's shields held for approximately 4 seconds before failing. Energy beams tore through the hull, ripping open sections of the ship. "Hull breaches everywhere," his engineer shouted over the alarms. "Life support failing." "We are not going to make it." "Yes, we are," Taeyang said through gritted teeth. "All power to forward shields and engines. Forget about everything else." The Shadow's edge shook itself apart as it crashed through the defensive fire. Behind it, 2 escort ships exploded. But Taeyang's vessel and 2 others reached the command station. Boarding pods fired like bullets, attaching to the station's hull and cutting through. Taeyang led the assault team personally. They fought through corridors filled with defending troops, taking casualties at every turn, but they kept pushing forward. The command center was just ahead. If they could take it, if they could broadcast surrender orders to the Council fleet, thousands of lives would be saved. They breached the command center doors with explosives. Inside, the Council military coordinators stared at them in shock. These were the commanders who had orchestrated the planned invasion of Earth. These were the leaders who had called humanity weak. Now they faced armed humans who had just fought through 60 defending ships and a station full of troops. Surrender the station, Taeyang demanded, his weapon trained on the senior commander. Or we will take it by force. The Council commander looked at his tactical displays. They showed the battles raging across the galaxy, showed human forces winning everywhere despite being outnumbered, showed the repair drones that seemed to mock death itself, showed the complete failure of the Council's overwhelming force doctrine. We surrender, the commander said quietly. Signal all fleets. Cease hostilities. Across the galaxy, Council forces received the surrender order. Some obeyed immediately, glad for a chance to retreat from the nightmare of fighting humans. Others refused at first, but without central coordination, they were quickly isolated and defeated. The 5 empires who had been most enthusiastic about the invasion were the first to sign peace agreements. 3 more withdrew their fleets within days. Only the remaining Velcrin forces and 2 stubborn allies continued fighting, but they were scattered and disorganized. Within 2 weeks, the war was over. Not with humanity's surrender as the Council had expected, but with the Council's defeat. Minho stood on the bridge of the Defiant looking at damage reports. 20% of the human fleet destroyed. 15,000 casualties. Entire ships lost with all hands. The victory had cost them dearly, but it had cost the Council more. They had learned a lesson written in fire and blood. Humanity could not be conquered, would not surrender, and would fight with a ferocity that shocked species who had waged war for centuries. The galaxy had laughed when Thraxos said one fleet could not stop them. The laughter had died in the flames of 100 battlefields. Now the galaxy knew the truth. One fleet could not stop humanity, because humanity was never just one fleet. They were a species that had survived ice ages and plagues, a species that had split the atom and walked on their moon, a species that prepared for the worst while hoping for the best. And when threatened, they spoke in fire. The galaxy had heard that speech, and it would not forget the lesson for a very long time. The battle recordings spread across the galaxy like wildfire. Every news network, every diplomatic channel, every military intelligence service received the footage of the Velcrin defeat. In command rooms and council chambers across 100 worlds, alien leaders watched in stunned silence as 500 warships were destroyed by a force that was supposed to be weak. The Galactic Council convened an emergency session. But this time the atmosphere was different. No one was laughing. The chamber was filled with angry voices demanding action, fearful voices urging caution, and confused voices asking how they had been so wrong about humanity. They deceived us, accused the Morvenite representative. They hid their true strength. This is a violation of first contact protocols. The Council ambassador raised one of its many arms for silence. Regardless of protocol violations, we face a crisis. The humans have proven more dangerous than anticipated. We must respond with overwhelming force to maintain galactic order. Over the next 3 days, 8 empires committed ships to a new coalition fleet. 3,000 warships began gathering at staging areas across the border of human space. This time they would not underestimate the humans. This time they would bring enough force to guarantee victory. Captain Taeyang Shin watched this buildup from the shadows. He commanded the reconnaissance ship Shadow's Edge, a vessel designed to be invisible to sensors. For 2 weeks he had been deep in Council territory, observing their preparations and sending intelligence back to Earth. What he saw worried him. The Council was not planning a single attack. They were coordinating simultaneous strikes on Earth and all 12 human colonies. It was designed to force humanity to divide their forces, to spread thin, to make them vulnerable. And it might work. Send the data packet to Admiral Lee, Taeyang ordered his communication officer. Priority Alpha. He needs to see this now. Back on Earth, Junho studied the intelligence reports with growing concern. His staff argued about defensive strategies, where to position ships, how to protect the colonies, how to keep Earth safe. It was the logical approach, the safe approach. But Junho had not survived 40 years in the military by being safe. "We are thinking about this wrong," he said, interrupting the debate. His senior officers fell silent. "They expect us to defend. They are counting on it. They want us to split our fleet to protect each colony, making us weaker everywhere." "Then what do you suggest?" asked one of the commanders. "We cannot leave our colonies undefended." "We do not defend," Junho said flatly. "We attack." The room erupted in shocked protests. Attack? With the enemy gathering 3,000 ships? It was insane. Suicidal. Exactly what the enemy would never expect. Junho pulled up a holographic map of Council space. Their staging areas are spread across 20 systems. Right now, their ships are gathered in convenient clusters preparing to attack us. They think they are safe in their own territory. They are wrong. He highlighted the targets. We hit them before they launch. We destroy their fleets while they are still organizing. We take the fight to them. In her laboratory, scientist Nari Yoon was putting the final touches on the firewall system. She had barely slept in days, surviving on coffee and determination. The system could now predict enemy fleet movements up to 30 seconds in advance by analyzing the ripples in spacetime. In her tests, it had a 93% accuracy rate. "Admiral Lee," she called over the communication link, "Firewall is operational. I can give your fleet commanders advance warning of enemy positions. But there is a limitation. The system requires our ships to be in motion. It reads patterns, changes, momentum. A stationary fleet is invisible to it." "That will not be a problem," Junho replied. "Our fleet will definitely be in motion." Across human space, every available ship received new orders. Not defensive positions. Attack coordinates. 20 different targets across Council territory. Each one a staging area full of enemy ships. The operation was codenamed Wildfire, and it would be the largest offensive action humanity had ever attempted. Jiwoo Han made one final broadcast before the attack. She stood in front of cameras, knowing that every species in the galaxy would hear her words. Her voice was steady, but her eyes were cold. "To the Galactic Council, you had peace. We offered cooperation, trade, friendship. You responded with threats and invasion. You believed us weak because we did not boast about our strength. You mistook our desire for peace as inability to wage war." She paused, choosing her next words carefully. "You chose fire. Now you will learn why humans survived on a death world for millions of years. We do not give up. We do not surrender. And we do not forgive unprovoked aggression. This is your last warning. Stand down your fleets or face the consequences." The Council's response was swift and arrogant. They broadcast their own message, showing the 3,000 ships gathered and ready. "Humanity will be brought to heel. Resistance is futile. Surrender now or face extinction." Junho watched the Council's message and smiled grimly. They still do not understand. "Signal all fleet commanders. Operation Wildfire is go." Jump in 10 minutes, Minho received the order aboard the Defiant. His target was Kepler Station, the largest shipyard in Council space. Intelligence suggested 200 enemy vessels were docked there, preparing for the invasion. It was heavily defended with shield generators and weapons platforms that made direct assault nearly impossible. Nearly impossible for a conventional attack. But human tactics were anything but conventional. "All ships," Minho transmitted to his strike group. "You have reviewed the plans. We jump in close inside their shields if possible. It will be rough. It will be dangerous. But it is the only way to succeed." He paused. "I will not lie to you. Some of us will not come back from this, but we fight so our families on Earth and the colonies can live in peace. We fight so the galaxy learns that humanity cannot be bullied. Make ready. Jump in 5 minutes." Around Minho, his crew made final preparations. Hana double-checked her tactical calculations. One wrong number, one small mistake, and they would jump into solid matter or appear too far from the target. Engineering checked the micro-jump drives for the 100th time. Weapons officers loaded every missile tube and charged every energy weapon. On 19 other ships across human space, similar scenes played out. 20 strike groups, each targeting a different staging area, each group outnumbered by enemy forces, each group going into battle knowing they might not return. But they were human, and humans had built civilizations in deserts, sailed across oceans in wooden boats, and reached for the stars despite every obstacle. Fear did not stop them. Impossible odds did not stop them. They had learned long ago that the only real failure was giving up. "All ships report ready," Hana announced. "Coordinates locked. Drives charged." Junho's voice came over the fleet-wide channel one last time. "Today, the galaxy learns what happens when you threaten humanity. Today we show them that we are not prey. We are not victims. We are humans, and we will not go quietly into the night. All ships jump on my mark. 3, 2, 1, execute." Across human space, 300 warships vanished in pulses of light. They reappeared deep in Council territory, inside the defensive perimeters of enemy staging areas. Alarms screamed. Enemy commanders shouted orders. Defense platforms opened fire, but it was already too late. The humans had arrived, and they had brought fire. Taiyang watched from his hidden position as one of the Council staging areas erupted in chaos. Human ships appeared from nowhere, already firing. The enemy vessels were packed together for efficiency, perfect targets for coordinated strikes. Explosions bloomed like flowers made of death. He recorded everything, knowing these images would be broadcast across the galaxy, knowing that every species would see, knowing that the message was clear. Humanity was done being underestimated. The galaxy had chosen war. Now humanity would show them what war really meant. The outer colonies of New Horizon and Terra Nova hung in space like blue pearls on a string. They were young worlds, barely 50 years old, where 10 million humans had built lives far from Earth. Children had been born there who had never seen the homeworld. Farmers had turned alien soil into cropland. Engineers had built cities that gleamed under foreign stars. Now, 500 Velcrin warships approached those worlds like a swarm of metal locusts. Minho stood on the bridge of the Defiant, watching the enemy fleet on his tactical display. Around him, his crew worked in focused silence. Hana sat at her station, her fingers moving across holographic controls as she coordinated with 11 other ships. On the surface, that was all they had. 12 human vessels against 500 alien warships. The math was simple, impossible. "Enemy fleet entering weapons range in 5 minutes, reported the sensor officer. "They are maintaining attack formation." No signs of caution. "Why would they be cautious?" said Hana quietly. "They think they already won." Minho watched Admiral Thraxos's flagship at the center of the enemy formation. It was massive, 10 times the size of the Defiant, bristling with weapons that could crack a moon in half. Around it, the Velcrin warships moved with practiced precision. They had done this before. Conquered worlds, broken resistance. This was routine for them. "All ships," Minho said into his communicator. "Hold formation. Wait for my signal." On the Velcrin flagship, Thraxos watched the human ships holding position near the colonies. 12 ships. 12 fragile vessels standing between his armada and victory. It was almost sad, almost honorable in its futility. "Begin attack pattern," he ordered. "Target the human ships first. Make it quick. Then we will discuss terms with the colonists." The Velcrin fleet opened fire. Hundreds of energy beams and missiles streaked across space toward the human defensive line. The Defiant's shields flared as impacts hammered against them. Warning alarms screamed throughout the ship. One human vessel took a direct hit and exploded in a flash of light that briefly lit up the darkness. "Shields at 40%, called out the defense officer on the Defiant. "We cannot take much more of this." Thraxos leaned back in his command chair, already composing the victory message he would send to the Council. The humans were brave, he would say, but bravery was not enough. This was war. This was reality. Then he heard his sensor officer make a confused sound. "Admiral, I am detecting energy signatures. Multiple signatures. They are appearing from everywhere." "Explain," Thraxos demanded. "Ships, Admiral. Hundreds of ships. They are decloaking all around us." On the Defiant's bridge, Minho allowed himself a small smile. "Light them up," he said calmly. Space itself seemed to tear open as human ships appeared from nowhere. They came from asteroid fields where they had waited for weeks. They rose from positions behind the colony's moons. They dropped cloak from positions the Velcrin fleet had already passed, surrounding the enemy completely. 200 warships materialized in seconds, and every single one had weapons locked on the Velcrin formation. But that was not all. The empty space around the battlefield suddenly sparkled with thousands of lights as weapons platforms activated. Sora's Ember network came to life like a constellation of death. Each platform was small, barely the size of a fighter craft, but there were thousands of them. And they were all controlled by a single coordinated intelligence. What is this? Thraxos roared. Where did they come from? His tactical officer was frantically trying to update the battle display. Admiral, we are surrounded. Enemy ships on all vectors. They have us in a kill box. The human ships moved like nothing the Velcrin had ever seen. They did not maneuver slowly into position. They did not follow predictable attack patterns. They jumped. Short-range teleportation jumps that should have been impossible. One moment a human ship was in front of the Velcrin formation. The next moment it appeared behind, firing weapons at close range where shields were weakest. Hana coordinated it all from her station, her tactical mind turning the battle into a deadly dance. Group Alpha, jump to position 7 and target their command ships. Group Beta, focus fire on their engine clusters. Group Gamma, defensive screen for the colonies. Move now. The human ships responded instantly, jumping and firing with precision that seemed almost supernatural. To the Velcrin, it looked like they were fighting ghosts. Ships would appear, fire, and vanish before return fire could connect. The weapons platforms added to the chaos, firing from every angle, creating a web of destruction that the Velcrin fleet could not escape. A Velcrin cruiser exploded as 3 human ships appeared around it simultaneously and fired point-blank into its reactor core. Another alien vessel tried to turn and flee, only to find human ships blocking its escape route. The careful Velcrin formation broke apart as captains panicked and tried to maneuver away from attacks coming from every direction. All ships, concentrate fire on Sector 9, Thraxos commanded, trying to bring order to chaos. We can break through if we focus. But when his ships turned to target Sector 9, the human vessels there simply jumped away, reappearing in a different sector and attacking from a new angle. It was like trying to fight smoke. On the Defiant, Minho watched the battle with cold satisfaction. Every tactic, every strategy, every hidden ship was performing exactly as planned. Hana, status report. Enemy fleet is breaking apart, she replied. They are trying to reform, but we are not giving them time. Casualties on their side are critical. We have lost 8 ships, but we are winning. Thraxos stared at his tactical display in horror. In 20 minutes, his fleet of 500 had been reduced to 300. Then 200. The humans were not just fighting. They were systematically destroying his armada with terrifying efficiency. Retreat, he finally ordered, his voice hollow. All ships emergency jump to rally point now. But the human weapons platforms had been quietly targeting their jump drives. As the surviving Velcrin ships tried to charge their faster-than-light engines, explosions rippled through their engineering sections. They were trapped, surrounded, helpless. Thraxos had one last option. He activated the emergency communication channel, broadcasting to all frequencies. This is Admiral Thraxos to the human fleet. We surrender. I repeat, we surrender. Cease fire. On the Defiance bridge, silence fell. Mino looked at his crew, then at the tactical display showing the shattered remains of the Velcrin armada. Of 500 ships, only 70 were still combat capable, and those 70 were surrounded by 200 human vessels and thousands of weapons platforms. Cease fire, Minho ordered. Accept their surrender. Hana was already working on the next phase. The battle recording. Every major engagement in space was automatically recorded and transmitted to news networks. In minutes, every species in the galaxy would see what happened here. They would see the Velcrin armada so confident in their superiority. They would see the human fleet outnumbered but not outmatched. They would see the hidden ships appear from nowhere, the impossible tactics, the complete and total victory. Most importantly, they would stop laughing. Minho opened a direct channel to Thraxos. Admiral, your ships will remain here under guard while we contact the Council. Your crews will be treated according to the laws of war. But understand this. You came to conquer. You came to take our homes. You chose this. Thraxos said nothing. What could he say? He had led 500 ships to an easy victory. Now he was a prisoner, and his fleet was destroyed. The Council would see this. They would know. The humans were not defenseless. The humans were not weak. The humans were dangerous. As the Defiant moved to secure the surrendered vessels, Minho allowed himself a moment to breathe. The first battle was won, but he knew this was just the beginning. The Council would not accept this defeat. They would come again. Stronger, angrier, more prepared. Good, he thought. Let them come. Let them see what humans do when we fight for our homes. Let them learn why one fleet was never all we had. The galaxy had laughed at humanity. Now the galaxy would learn to fear them. Deep beneath the surface of Earth, in a military facility that did not appear on any public map, Admiral Junho Lee stood before a room full of officers. The emergency meeting had been called the moment Minho's message arrived from Apex Prime. On the massive screen behind Junho, a countdown timer showed 68 hours and 17 minutes remaining. Protocol Ember is active, Junho said. His voice was calm, but everyone in the room could feel the weight of those words. The Council has given us 3 days to surrender. They believe we have only one fleet. They are wrong. A holographic display lit up the center of the room. It showed human space with Earth at the center and 12 colony worlds spreading out in a sphere. To anyone watching from outside, it would look simple, defenseless. But as Junho pressed a button, the display changed. Red dots appeared everywhere. Hundreds of them, scattered through asteroid fields, hidden beneath the ice of frozen moons, disguised as space debris in orbital graveyards. Each dot was a ship. Each ship was armed and ready. For 200 years, Junho continued, while the galaxy ignored us, we prepared. We built, we hid. Every colony has a hidden shipyard. Every asteroid belt has weapons platforms. Every trade route has emergency beacons that can summon reinforcements in minutes. He looked around the room at the shocked faces. We are not a species that trusts easily. We learned that lesson long ago on Earth. In another part of the facility, Engineer Sora Kim was explaining the technical details to a group of ship commanders who had just been pulled from their hidden positions. She was young for her role, only 32, but her mind worked faster than most ship computers. The holographic schematics floating in front of her showed weapons that the galaxy had never seen. This is the Ember Network, she said, highlighting a web of connections between ships and platforms. Every vessel is linked through quantum communication. No lag, no delays. When one ship sees a target, every ship in range knows about it instantly. The enemy thinks they are fighting individual ships. They are actually fighting a single, coordinated mind. One of the commanders raised his hand. What about their superior numbers? Even with hidden ships, they still outnumber us. Sora smiled. That is where the second surprise comes in. She pulled up new data. Their faster than light drives are old technology. They need to charge for hours, sometimes days, before they can jump. Our drives do not work the same way. We can make micro jumps during combat, appear behind them, disappear before they can lock weapons. To them, it will look like we are teleporting. In the research wing, astrophysicist Yuna Choi was running final calculations on her prediction models. She had spent 3 years studying the ripples that ships made in space-time when they moved. Most people thought of space as empty, but Yuna knew better. Every ship left traces, patterns, and if you knew how to read those patterns, you could predict where they would go next. The firewall system is ready, she reported to her supervisor. I can give our fleet commanders a 15-second warning before enemy ships arrive. 15 seconds might not sound like much, but in space combat, it is an eternity. Above the facility, in the diplomatic offices where windows actually showed the sky, Jiwoo Han was preparing one last attempt at peace. She had been a negotiator for 10 years and had never failed to find common ground. But this time felt different. This time, the other side did not want to negotiate. They wanted to conquer, still she had to try. She recorded a message, choosing her words carefully. To the Galactic Council, she began. Humanity offers one final chance for peace. We will share our technology. We will trade freely. We will join your community as equals, not subjects. We ask only for the same respect you show each other. She paused, looking directly at the camera. But if you choose war, know that you choose to fight a species that survived ice ages, plagues, and wars that turned our own world into fire. We are harder to kill than you think. She sent the message and waited. The response came back in less than an hour. It was not from the Council. It was from Admiral Thraxos himself. Just one image. A countdown timer matching Earth's with a simple message. 48 hours. Surrender or burn. Jiwoo closed her eyes. They had their answer. She picked up her communicator and called Admiral Junho. Diplomacy has failed. They want war. Then war is what they will get, Junho replied. Across human space, hidden fleets received their orders. Commanders who had spent years in silent positions, pretending to be civilian ships or abandoned stations, suddenly came to life. Crews who had trained in secret now prepared for the real thing. Every ship ran system checks. Every weapon was loaded. Every pilot reviewed the battle plans they had memorized years ago. Minho's ship, the Defiant, jumped back to human space and immediately docked with a hidden command station near Mars. Hana went straight to work coordinating with other tactical officers, building attack patterns that would maximize their element of surprise. She had studied every piece of intelligence they had on Council forces. She knew their formation preferences, their weapon ranges, their communication protocols. More importantly, she knew their weaknesses. They fight like they have all the time in the world, she explained to her team. They position ships carefully. They wait for optimal targeting solutions. They follow doctrine exactly. But we will not give them time. We will hit them fast, hard, and from directions they do not expect. On Earth, people went about their daily lives mostly unaware of what was coming. The government had decided not to cause panic. But in military bases, in hidden shipyards, in training facilities across the planet, thousands of people prepared for war. Pilots climbed into cockpits. Gunners loaded ammunition. Engineers made last-minute adjustments to engines and shields. Junho watched it all from his command center, monitoring reports from every sector. He had spent 40 years in the military, had fought in 3 colonial wars, had seen things that still gave him nightmares. But he had never faced anything like this. An entire galaxy united against humanity. Thousands of ships. Weapons that could destroy planets. Empires that had been waging war for centuries. And yet, as he looked at the display showing his hidden fleets, he felt something he had not expected. Confidence. The Council had made one critical mistake. They had underestimated humanity. They had seen one fleet and assumed that was everything. They had laughed at the idea of humans defending themselves. They would not laugh for long. Junho opened a channel to every ship, every station, every command post in human space. His face appeared on screens everywhere. This is Admiral Lee. In 48 hours, the Galactic Council expects us to surrender. They think we are weak. They think we are afraid. They think one fleet cannot stop them. He paused, letting the moment stretch. Let us show them what humans do when we are underestimated. Let us show them that we are not one fleet. We are not one world. We are one species and we will not surrender. Prepare for battle. Make ready, and when the time comes, we will speak in fire. The countdown continued. The galaxy waited, and humanity prepared to give them a lesson they would never forget. The station called Apex Prime floated in the darkness of space like a crown made of metal and lights. Inside its massive council chamber, representatives from 12 alien empires sat in their designated seats. The room was built to intimidate, with walls that stretched up into shadows and holographic displays showing the territories each empire controlled. At the center of it all stood a human officer in a dark blue uniform. Captain Minho Kang kept his face calm, but his hands were clasped behind his back to hide the tension in his fingers. He had been a fleet captain for 8 years, had fought pirates in the outer colonies and had negotiated with hostile mining corporations. But nothing had prepared him for this moment. Around him, the alien representatives whispered to each other in languages his translator could barely follow. Some looked at him with curiosity, others with something that looked like amusement. Captain Kang, said the council ambassador, a tall creature with gray skin and too many joints in its arms. You have heard our terms. Earth and its colonies will surrender control of 30 worlds to the Council's protection. Your military forces will be reduced to local defense only. You have 72 hours to accept. Minho looked up at the ambassador. And if we refuse? The chamber filled with a sound like wind chimes. It took Minho a moment to realize the aliens were laughing. The ambassador's mouth parts moved in what might have been a smile. Then we will be forced to bring you into compliance. For your own good, of course. Behind Minho, standing at attention near the entrance, Commander Hana Park watched everything with sharp eyes. She had been Minho's tactical officer for 3 years, and he trusted her judgment more than his own sometimes. She caught his glance and gave the smallest shake of her head. The data they had gathered was clear. This was not a negotiation. It was a threat. Admiral Thraxos of the Velcrin Empire rose from his seat. He was massive, easily 3 meters tall, with armor that seemed to be part of his body. His species had conquered 17 star systems, and everyone in the galaxy knew it. Captain Kang, he said, his voice deep enough to feel in the chest. We understand your species is new to faster-than-light travel. You have only one fleet, 72 ships according to our intelligence. We are trying to help you understand the reality of galactic politics. We appreciate the concern, Minho said carefully, but Earth's government believes in sovereignty. We will not surrender our colonies. Thraxos made a sound like grinding stone. Then you are fools. The Velcrin Empire alone has 500 warships. The Council combined has thousands. You speak of sovereignty, but you do not have the strength to maintain it. Another representative spoke up, a creature that looked like it was made of flowing water held in a containment suit. Perhaps the humans do not understand scale. They come from a single world. They have been in space for only 2 centuries. They think their one fleet is impressive. More laughter rippled through the chamber. Minho felt heat rise in his face, but he kept his voice level. We understand perfectly. We simply disagree with your methods. Methods. The ambassador's voice turned cold. These are not methods, Captain. This is reality. You will comply, or you will be made to comply. We are offering you a chance to join the galactic community peacefully. Hana stepped forward slightly, her hand moving to the datapad at her side. She had been running analysis throughout the meeting, monitoring energy signatures from the alien ships gathering outside the station. What she was seeing made her blood run cold. These ships were not positioned for defense or escort. They were in attack formation. Captain, she said quietly, I need to show you something. Minho nodded. Hana activated a holographic display that only they could see. It showed the space around Apex Prime with hundreds of red dots representing alien vessels. They were surrounding human space from 3 directions. The formation was unmistakable. Invasion positions, they are not negotiating, Hana whispered. This meeting is just theater. They are already committed to attack. Minho looked back at the council. All those eyes watching him. All that power arrayed against his species. He thought of Earth, blue and green and alive. He thought of the colonies where families had built homes under alien stars. He thought of the billions of humans who trusted their military to protect them. 72 hours, the ambassador said again. We await your government's response. Minho straightened his uniform. Then I will deliver your message, Ambassador. But I will also deliver mine. Humanity did not survive for millions of years on a harsh world by surrendering when threatened. We will defend our sovereignty. Thraxos laughed, a sound like an avalanche. With one fleet? Against the might of the Council? He spread his massive arms. Captain, I almost admire your courage. But courage without strength is just suicide. He leaned forward, his eyes glowing with a light that might have been pity or contempt. One fleet cannot stop us. The entire chamber erupted in laughter. The sound echoed off the walls, mixed with alien voices saying words in languages Minho did not know. But the meaning was clear. They were mocking him, mocking humanity, treating them like children who did not understand the adult world. Minho stood silent until the laughter died down. Then he spoke, his voice quiet but clear. We will see, Admiral. We will see. He turned and walked toward the exit, Hana falling into step beside him. Behind them, the laughter continued. The Council was already celebrating their victory, already planning how to divide up the human colonies, already imagining the resources they would claim. As the door closed behind them, Hana looked at Minho. They have no idea, do they? Minho allowed himself a small grim smile. Not even a little bit. They walked through the station's corridors back to their ship. The UES Defiant waited at the docking port, just one ship among hundreds of alien vessels. It looked small, vulnerable, exactly what the Council expected from humanity, but appearances could be deceiving. And the galaxy was about to learn a very important lesson about underestimating humans. The countdown had started. 72 hours until the Council expected surrender. 72 hours to prepare. Minho stepped aboard his ship and immediately headed for the communication room. He needed to send a message to Earth. Just 2 words. Protocol Ember. The galaxy laughed at humanity's single fleet. They would not be laughing for long.